Welcome, everyone. Welcome to another amazing edition of the Launch Class. I am Kim Anderson, and I'm here with Cindy Beckwith. Good morning, Cindy.
Good morning. Good afternoon. What
Good
time?
afternoon.
What
Yeah,
day
it's
is it?
afternoon. Yeah, it's afternoon. So good to see everyone. Today, we are going to talk about the buyer consult, and we're going to share some tools with you. This is an interactive class, so if you have questions, please feel free to raise your hand or unmute. We want to be able to answer your questions. And if it's something that we have to table till later in the class, we'll just come back to it. So, Cindy, why don't you go ahead and get us started?
Okay. Well, thanks you guys for being here. Buyer consult. Couple things. What I try to do, when you get that lead, depending on how you get it, if it's a referral, if it's a phone call, if it's a sign call, all that, I try to get as much information as I can over the phone. First of all, I want to make sure, um, I want to find out, are they working with another agent? Um, are they first time home buyers? All that. I try to get, their name, number, so I have information to help me kind of have a plan for them. But the other thing is, in this day and age too, we are seeing, I don't know if I want to call them scams, but I'm just going to call them scams.
Mhm.
And I just had one yesterday on one of my listings, and I want to make sure that they're true buyers in that, and because we don't want to be, I don't want to say wasting our time, but our time's valuable.
Mhm.
So when we're working with a buyer, as we know, there's quite a bit of work with it, and we want it to be productive and a true buyer. So when they call me, I'll have a few questions, the main questions, name, number, how'd you get my name? How did you hear about me? Um, if it's a sign call, I'll ask, did they drive by? Did they come through an open house? All that. So I'm trying to, for better part, vet them before I meet with them or schedule a time to see a home. The main important question, are they pre-approved? Because when somebody calls me and asks me what my first step is before us sitting down to have a buyer consult and all that, is I'm going to tell them that they need to get pre-approved. Because that's real important, because you could spend all this time and energy um, with this buyer, and then you find out that they're not pre-approved. And I've had buyers tell me, oh, no problem. I have this much money in the bank. I've already, I got pre-approved a year ago. I'm sure that I can get pre-approved. We're looking at this price range and all that. So it's very, very important that you ask them. And at this point in my career, I'm not afraid to say, hey, look, I want to set up a time. I'm looking forward to meeting with you. But our first step is for you to get pre-approved and find out. That will help us have a roadmap to helping you purchase a home. And it'll give us a price range. You may qualify for a lot more, but it might not be your budget. So
Mhm.
we want to make sure this is a fast moving market and very competitive. So I want to be able to put our best foot forward. And I'll ask them if, do they have a lender that they like to work with? They need a few recommendations, all that. So
Yeah.
I'm doing that right in the beginning, whether it's an email, phone call,
Mhm.
text, all
And
that.
the way you can ask them is, have you spoken to a lender yet? Instead of saying, are you pre-approved? I'd say, have you spoken to a lender yet? Have you
Yep.
seen any homes? So two things you're finding out are when you ask them, have you spoken to a lender? You're finding out, are they pre-approved? And you say, if you ask them, have you seen any homes yet? You can tell if they've been working with any other realtor or they've been going to open houses or something. So there are certain leading questions you can ask and get the answers that you want. The other thing is if we start showing them properties and we don't know their budget, or maybe they can afford it, as Cindy said, but they don't like the payment, then it's hard to keep them satisfied after they've seen something 25, 30, 40,000 over their budget.
Taj Mahal.
Yeah, they are not going to be happy. And you spent time with them. So that's the other thing there too. And We're not going to talk about this in depth today before we go into the consult, but just remember, in order to open a door for any buyer, you must have one of two things, either a showing agreement, which we call a permission slip to open the door, or a buyer agency. You have to have one or the other. And we will be talking about forms and power sessions. Those are all recorded as well for you. But before we open a door, we must disclose agency disclosure, who we work for, and also a showing agreement. So,
Very
Cindy,
good.
do you want me to go ahead and share
Sure.
first document? Okay.
Perfect. Yeah, those are all great information, Kim. Um,
Is this big enough or you want a little bigger?
oh, yeah, that's good.
Okay.
I don't have my readers on today, no.
All right. There you go.
So for a buyer, once you do all that, my goal is to meet with them in person at the office, coffee shop, or somewhere. Sometimes it's going to be maybe at that first house. So you kind of do what you got to do.
But
Um,
remember all of the disclaimer, safety measures in place if you've never met them
absolutely.
or you don't know them.
Absolutely. And what I do is I have a packet, and I have that packet with me. So let's say I'm going to meet them at the office. I just take a green dual tang. I've got my business cards. I've got we'll talk about that next, the Make Your Next Move booklet that Five Star publishes. It's excellent. It's a great way to, especially buyers that aren't familiar with the process and that, for them to get familiar. And, I'm not fancy at all. I staple my business card to the corner of it, so my card's on it. You can get them pre-printed. Like I said, I staple my business card. I'll have a snapshot of the market, that monthly market, and so they know, I can show them days on market, how many houses are on the market. I won't go into a whole lot of depth of that because a lot of times it's overload. And then I'll have a sheet in there that explains, the benefits of working with a buyer agent. And I do that for me because that gives me something to follow along with. And then for me, I have a file folder and all their information's going in there. Now, people, they'll use their laptops, whatever works for you. This works great for me. And I'll meet with them. I'll try to prepare that in advance, especially if they tell me, whoever I'm talking with, if it's their girlfriend or their wife or their kids, I'll just try to put notes on there before I meet with them. And I'll have that ready for me. So when I go and meet with them at the office, which I do prefer, it's like Kim said, safety first. And in this day and age, and right now with some of the scams going on, yeah, you have to be careful. And even if you have to take someone with you on that first showing, which I've done.
Mhm.
But for that appointment, I'll get there, and again, don't be late. Don't be late for your buyers when you meet them at the office. It's awkward. And I don't know about where you guys are at. Ray knows in Lansing right now, construction can really put you behind. So I'm sorry, but being prompt is very important. And then I'll greet them in that. I'll gather information because I don't want to backtrack. I'm the pro, so I have a system here. So I'll get their name, phone number, email, all that. Um, I know we've got on here clean car and personal appearance. I don't know, my car sometimes isn't clean, but it is all about that first because your first impression is very important with those people. And again, for me to get over my nervousness, I'll compliment them on something. I'm not
Mhm.
sure what that's going to be, but I'll figure it out when I meet them. And I'll have, you can have in that folder, you have to make it your own, but you can have your resume, you can have testimonies. I have in there, I have a website, so I have all that. I promote my website to have them go there and check it out. And they can get, especially, it may be you don't know these people at all. So, you know, But
Well, the other thing, Cindy, is when you, even if you don't go over all these things with them, when you leave the five-star buyer book, make your move, and the packet with your resume, you leave that in a nice folder. It's very professional. And
yeah, it is.
you want your clients to know that you're a professional and you're putting that first appearance. That's where it goes with the way your car looks, the way you dress, the way you take off your shoes at the front door, the way your packet looks. You don't have to have an expensive car, just have a clean one that you've taken care of it, right? So just that first impression.
You're exactly right, Kim, because you're a business owner. You
Yeah,
own your
right.
own business. And I don't care if those buyers are in shorts, flip-flops, whatever. I'm the pro. So I just want to be able to give my best first impression. So it's very important. Um,
Then after that, when we go to, drop off things once in a while, I might say, I'm on my way. I just came from the gym, but I always preempt it. Like, I'm dropping those off. So I'm saying,
yeah, well, you get to know them,
yeah, yeah.
that's when you have a relationship. But,
Yeah, it's not normal. I'm just teasing, but I just did that at a listing yesterday. Like, I'm stopping by. I'll be right back. So
well, that's
anyway,
all right.
yeah, they're like, okay. All right. So
But
what happens?
And then, in what Kim was saying, you feel more prepared. You
Yeah.
feel more like a pro. It
Yeah.
just
You ought to be a
sets the
pro.
whole stage for everything.
Yep.
And then we already talked about, let's see, I'll sit down with them. I'll let them know that I wanted to meet them. I really want to put together a roadmap to help them find, their home, all those things that you want to ask, like, why are you moving? Very important. Do you have a house to sell?
Mm-hmm.
That's a very important thing. Do you have to
Mm-hmm.
sell your house before you purchase? That can change the whole ball game of what you're looking at and what market and all that. And that gives me a chance to explain kind of what's going on in out there in the market.
Mm.
Uh, and then things like, is it your first home? Is this
Do you
home?
have a lease? That's really important. Do they have a lease
Yeah.
if it's their
Can you
first home?
break it? What is your time frame? What is
Yep.
your time frame? If they tell me that they're just out here looking and they're going to look in 2 years, I'd be like, fantastic. We will stay in touch. I'm going to give you my information, your information. I'll send that to you. I'm going to send them a link from my MLS and tell them we'll stay in touch. But looking right now, the best thing to do is go through open houses because 2 years from now, it could be a whole different ball game for them. So timing's very, very important. Like I said, we want to sit together. We want to sit and have a plan moving forward for them. And then, real important, what are you looking for in a home? Are you looking for a two-story duplex? How long are you looking to live in the home? Uh, you know, Square footage. Sometimes people say, I have no idea. And I'm like, okay, well, um, we'll get a better idea once we see a couple homes, and they will. How many bedrooms? Do you have kids? Do a yard? Do you have a dog? All that. Um, and then after doing that, I'll go through and find out, okay, I've already really prepared them that they need to be pre-approved. I ask them, did you talk with a lender? Were you able to get pre-approved? You got the process going? Do you want me to give you those recommendations again? And then explain to them why that's so important to have that. And again, here in our area, if you're looking, depending on what price range, but really, quite frankly, they're all going pretty fast and they're competitive. So a lot of times you only have one chance. So I let people know that we need to be prepared. We need to be prepared because you never know. They could go in the first house and love it and want to move forward. And it could already have two offers on it, and you have a deadline of noon the next day. Getting with a lender and all that, that's going to be a tough timeline. And then I'll go through. I was telling you I use that Make Your Next Move booklet from Five Star. I'll go through the process a little bit. I actually have. and we'll show you that probably next, Kim, that cloud CMA that I use.
All
It'll go
right.
through the stages of, getting pre-approved, your property search, all that. It goes through the whole process of purchasing a home. Because what I found, even
Which one, Cindy, do you want?
the cloud CMA buyer walkthrough, it has,
The whole one has your picture on the front?
yep.
Okay.
And this is I have this presentation. I'll go through because on the phone, that's why I like to kind of have a idea what they're looking for and everything, or where at least. And I'll just run through and do a quick buyer preview on my cloud. I use Cloud CMA. You guys have to figure out what works best for you. Me personally, I love it, but it goes through the home buying process. So I have all this, and I'll have this with me. Um, and I put this in their packet too. But I like it because it goes through the process. And I'll briefly go through this. I don't want to overload them, but I also want to be able to talk with them about that. What the steps are, all that. Making an offer, getting an inspection, letting them know that a typical closing, if you're financing, is going to be 30 to 45 days. And this is why. These are the steps.
One of the things, Cindy, that I always explain, especially to someone who's never purchased a home before, are inspections and the costs up front. To be
Yeah,
sure that they understand that there are out-of-pocket costs and earnest money is typically required, what it costs for inspections. When you go to apply for the loan, are they asking for an application fee, an appraisal fee? Because they may have budgeted for the home, but these costs are out of pocket whether you stay in the contract or get out. And that's why it's really important that when we show them homes, that we are looking ahead of time for things that might be a deal breaker before they spend $400, $500 on an inspection, then get out, get back in. It
yes,
can get really, and so it can get really expensive. So you want to be the pro that explains. Now, if somebody's bought a few homes, they most likely understand that there's out of pocket costs. But for especially new home buyer, they are relying on you to be the pro and to guide them. And my number one goal when I meet with the first time home buyer is to make them feel safe, to know, let them know, I've got you. I will walk you through every step. And that because they're nervous, they're scared, they've never done this, they're stepping way out of what they've ever done before. And so, regardless of who our client is, I want them to know that I am the pro, I'm going to take good care of you.
yeah. Build trust
Build trust. Yep.
for sure. Um,
So you go through the steps and then do you want the,
Yeah, and I'll go through, like the goal. This is more of a information, sheet in that. I like what I use because it gives more, you don't know the personality of your buyer yet. You don't know if they're detailed, if they're just like, hey, I just want to get pre-approved. I want to buy a house. You'll help me with the process and all that. So I'm still trying to figure out what their personality is. But this will go through, some people will go through and they've called me and they said, oh my gosh, this is fantastic. They'll go through this whole thing with them. Um, but this is kind of a breakdown in an easy format of the steps for home buying
interest rates?
beyond the staging.
I think this is important, looking beyond staging, because so many homes are staged. And that's really nice. It's very appealing. I stage the homes that I sell. But it is important to go beyond all the shiny objects to the mechanicals, the roof, the health, the safety, the smells, is there mold, all the important things, because this is the investment. And so this is I like this page here, Cindy, because it helps them to know, don't get caught up in the emotion, but do really good due diligence.
Yeah, or the accessories. I know I've walked in houses, I'm like, oh my gosh,
Yeah,
this is
yeah,
beautiful. And
yeah,
then you start looking through the house and you're like, oh,
yeah. And then on closing
okay.
day,
They decorate
it's
well.
a blank canvas. So, all right, then we
Yeah.
have get a home inspection.
The home
Why? Tell me, let's talk here for just a minute. Should we ever advise buyers to waive a home inspection. I know we're in the world of multiple offers, they want to win. Should we ever recommend they waive?
No.
Never,
No.
never. If they waive, that's on them, but I will never tell you to waive a home inspection unless you've brought somebody in that has already gone through the home. Maybe they're a builder, they're an inspector. My answer is always, you should never waive, and we have a waiver that they sign, that
Yes.
they understand that, because it's a very big difference between when they're trying to win in multiple offers and the day they move in and the next day they find problems. So our answer is always, should you waive inspections? The answer is no, you should not. Now, if they decide to do it, they can choose to. We'll have them sign the waiver and we move forward. But they do come back after this when they have problems and say they didn't know.
Yeah.
So if you tell them, not to do radon, my answer is yes. Every pest, every inspection you can think of, my answer is yes, as I represent you. Okay? So
Very
very,
good
very
point.
important.
Yeah, because liability, and you can turn into be best friends when you're going through the process and everything, but once it closes and if they have an issue,
They're coming to you.
they're gonna
And the other thing too, Cindy, is we need to remind them to always give at least two. We prefer three different inspectors, so that when the inspector, they think the buyer thinks the inspector missed something. Guess what they're going to say? Your inspector
Yeah.
missed it. So I
Yeah.
like to give them three. I personally will ask them, I'll ask my buyer, do you have a preference on a home inspector? I will call and get this scheduled for you. I still believe in servicing them. So I will call two or three. I will say, hey, Janie, what are your fees? What are your dates? How much for pest? How much for radon? What dates do you have available? I will give them a package. I put it in an email. Then I call the next one, ask the very same questions. Then I ask the next one. I say, okay, thank you. Let me get back to you. I will send that to my buyer and say, here's what's available and here's their fees. Which one would you like me to schedule for you? They go, okay, we'll go with number one. I say, great. I'm going to call and I'm going to connect you to this home inspector A, and I'm going to schedule it and I'm going to give them your information, and then they will reach out to the buyer to get payment and to confirm the details. It,
Yep.
I still do really good service, but I do not become responsible for those situations. You don't want to put your name on the line. So that's the way I practice. Do you do that, Cindy?
Oh, yeah. And I attend all
I
inspections.
attend all inspections, every single inspection. I want to know what's going on in that house. I want to know how I'm going to negotiate. I want to represent my buyer. Yep.
For sure.
So that's talking about inspections before we made an offer, and here she's just explaining the process. I
Yep.
kind of jumped ahead, but then here we've got making an offer. Cindy, what do you tell them about that?
I'll go through and tell them, I'll help them every step of the way. I'll kind of explain, a lot of times what'll happen is when you start talking to them, they'll ask questions. Like I've had buyers ask me, well, what if there's an issue with inspections? Well, we'll put a contingent on inspections, but we're going to have a timeline and we
Right.
have to stay within that timeline. And again, as realtors and professionals, we are responsible for that timeline.
Yes.
We are responsible. The buyers, sometimes they just don't understand. It's not for them to keep track of. We need to do that for our buyers.
Well, there's two things. As the pro, it is my responsibility to make sure we're following. Ultimately, yes, it belongs to the buyer, but I'm the pro. I'm going to take on the responsibility to make sure that all the timelines are followed regarding collecting earnest money, regarding the inspection timeline, so that my buyer doesn't get caught buying a property as is because we didn't follow it. The same with title insurance. We just recorded a power session where we talked about the overview of title work. And I would wonder how many agents actually open it and actually share it and explain it to their buyer or seller. I always do. Understanding easements, understanding well and septic. There is a lot to this 6 or 8 page transaction that we are responsible for. And it's very, very important that we represent every single buyer and seller that we take on as a client. Absolutely.
Yep. So I'll go through that again. It's my buyer consult. Sometimes I'll go through that so they have somewhat of an understanding, but I'll go through it even more once we start writing a contract.
Yep.
And these are client testimonials.
Yep. Let's
So,
see. We have a couple comments. Oh, yeah, the EMD timeline, so important. Yep. Okay,
yeah,
so there's your testimonies. Okay, so we can stop sharing that one.
and then so I'll go through that and give them that. And then I want to talk about, now, Kim, I don't know how detailed, but then I'm going to talk with them about how I would be representing them, the
Okay.
buyer, the exclusive buyer agency, or if we're going to do a property showing agreement. But I'm going to explain how I will helping them because again, if you don't have a buyer agency, I'm not going to get too much in the weeds with their financing, and I want to be able to, find out exactly the details and all that. So I will talk to them about representing them. I'll go through the me personally, I use the exclusive buyer agency. I'll go through this and then I'll explain that. They realize I'm a pro. I'm going to help them. I'm going to help them every step of the way. I'm going to explain to them about the admin fee. I don't want my buyer coming back to me and saying, you never told me this, or I don't recall this, or all this and that.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to be able to have, if I'm meeting them in the office, I'm definitely going to get that buyer agency for sure.
Yep.
I'm not, and if they won't do a buyer agency, I'm going to have to decide. I'm going to get a better idea once I meet them because my time's valuable and I have to make a business decision. Um, am I going to, show them a couple with a couple houses with a property showing agreement? But in most cases, probably not. I want that buyer agency because I'm going to be doing a lot of prep work and all that for them.
Yep.
Um, that
Any questions so far? What questions do we have? Anything? We've covered a lot of material.
I know. Sorry, you guys, I kind of talk.
Yeah, I just want to take a pause for just a minute. Any questions about the consult so far or, okay. All right, Cindy, what else did you have you say you wanted to go over?
Well, and then if I meet them, do you want me to, Kim, discuss like if I get a call and I meet somebody at a house to show them or, um, you know, it's going to depend when you're doing a buyer consult, just like I said, it's going to depend on whether you're meeting them in the office, if you're meeting them at the home and that. And like Kim said, we're going to discuss forms like property showing agreement, exclusive buyer agency. But if I have somebody call, let's say it's a friend of a buyer that I just worked with, and I'll ask them the same questions, go through the same thing, and they're like, "Hey, I'm really interested in this home. Can you show it to me? I've already talked to a lender, all this and that, and I'll come with that same packet, and I will give them that packet. I will have them sign a property showing agreement and let them know that we'll meet in my office or we can, have a discussion after the showing. We can talk by phone or anything like that if it's mutual that we both want to work together after I show them that home. And if they want to write an offer, we're doing that consult probably right outside. But you do what you got to do. There's no perfect situation. Like I said, I think the ideal is to meet them in the office or meet them somewhere. But we all know sometimes real estate's on the fly. So yeah, you
So
have to
who,
pivot.
has everybody in the room shown properties before? You have? How about you, Ginger and Katie? Kate, have you?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So you're past the point of that very first time of getting up to the front door, your client's there, you're holding on to your papers, trying to get through the key box, get the door open, get the get everybody in, get the shoe covers on, get the lights on. Everybody's been through that whole experience so far, right? So you got that out of your way. Everybody's good with that? Okay.
Yes.
Got the
Was
key
it
box working?
stressful?
Yeah. So we've had a pretty good overview. So what other questions might you have? I don't want to give you too much more information. That it's a lot. But it's really a conversation. You can have these tools that Cindy presented today, but if you don't have all of these tools in a per se packet, you have the Make Your Move beautiful book that Five Star provides. I believe they're a few dollars each. You make a packet. You are there to be the pro, but ask the right questions. If you don't have it down line by line, page by page, it's okay. You go in and you bring value to the transaction, you build rapport, you build trust, and you be a really good listener to provide service to help your buyer. It's real simple. You are there to lead them through the process. And you do want to get that buyer agency signed as soon as you can so that everybody understands the rules of the relationship, the expectations from each party. So don't feel like if you don't have all these tools, you'll get them as you go, but take the book, be a professional. I always bring that with me, and it will represent you in Five Star really well. So
Yeah, and it's you have to get out there to do it.
yeah.
Every situation's probably going to be a little bit different.
Yep.
And as the more you do it, the more you're going to say, wow, I thought I saw it all.
Yeah.
But
Any questions? Any questions at all? Anything you don't know that you'd like to know regarding buyers? We're done early today and we're okay with that, but I want to respect your time and everybody feel like you have some good takeaways that you feel comfortable going into a consult. It's just asking questions and getting to know them. Okay. Well, perfect. Well, thank you,
that we
Cindy.
did good.
Thank you, Cindy. We appreciate your time and sharing your information with us. So if you need anything, please reach out to the broker support team. We're always here to help you and answer any questions you have.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
Have a
All
great
right,
Thank
everybody
you,
have a great
Kim.
day.
Thank